El Dandy, because this guy's a serious professional.
Brett screwed Brett.
Hold two, arm bar.
Hey, get a nice shot of the brand new Mr. and Mrs. Hunter Hurst Helmsley.
I hate you. I hate you. I hate your hat. I hate your t-shirts. I hate your wristbands. I hate your shoes. I hate your music. I hate the C Nation. I hate everything that you stand for.
Sodas rule.
Yeah, they do.
Hold three, the moss-covered, three-handle family Gradunzel.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
And welcoming you to the RCWR Show Weekend Edition. I am, of course, as always, the Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders. Thank you all for checking out today's episode on December 22nd, 2012. Christmas is just a couple of days away, and in just a few more days, we are going to be done with this calendar year as onward to the year 2013. Hey, we appreciate you guys checking out today's show. You know, if you want to interact with us during the course of this episode, you can do so by hitting us up in our chat room over at blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. You can also interact with us on Twitter. Hit us up at Infinity1Prod. While you're at it, in between listening to the show and kicking back, relaxing, enjoying your weekend, feel free to hit us up on Facebook at Infinity1 Productions. Like the page, follow it, always post a lot of great content on a daily basis. All right, so we're going to get you guys caught up on the very latest and what you might have missed from this week's batch of WWE and TNA programming. And let's kick things off by talking about the very latest and what happened from Monday Night Raw, where it was the Slammy Award special, but that really wasn't the focal point of that episode, as really it boiled down to all the people that had made their surprising returns to the WWE. One of those returns included, the 16-time World Heavyweight Champion, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. And you know, that was one of my favorite mark-out moments for that 3-hour episode of Raw, was just seeing the Nature Boy come back styling and profiling. He just fit so well back in the WWE. Was really happy to see him, even if it was just for one night. But you know, what really stood out to me the most, seeing Ric Flair come back, was just the way he just elevated the people that he had worked with, as he was on Raw for like 3 segments, it felt like. I mean, one segment, we see him working with WWE Champion CM Punk, ECW former owner Paul Heyman. He's just working on the mic with those guys. Nice stuff. That ended up being a case where CM Punk, Ric Flair, they head on down to the ring. Looks like they're about to get it on right then and there, but it didn't quite play out that way, as the WWE Champion decided he wanted to take the low route, went for the cheap blows. But how the tides had quickly turned on the champion, as Ric Flair did what Ric Flair would usually do. He bust out a move from his playbook, looking for that thumb to the eye, then applying that figure 4 leg lock on Paul Heyman. But then the rub-off that Ric Flair is able to give to the Shields, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, that itself was just phenomenal. Here are 3 guys that are still high off of their impressive debut at the TLC pay-per-view, and here they are working with the 16-time World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair. Great moment right there. It had to have been for those guys, as Ric Flair also gave a rub off to Ryback, Team Hell Knows, Kane, and Daniel Bryan. Just look at all those great ingredients right there. You have Ric Flair work with the people that, without a doubt, with the exception of Kane there, but you have him work with folks that are no doubt going to be the future of the WWE for years to come, and I just really love the way that had played out on television, especially the rub-off that Ryback was able to get from that, and talk about the way that it had ended as you saw Ric Flair just being held up over the shoulders of Ryback and Kane, even if Ric Flair was only coming back for one night, as speculation came out if whether or not Ric Flair was back in the WWE full time. What exactly did this mean? Turns out, take it for what it's worth for now, but Ric Flair, as far as that Monday night appearance he made, that was a one-time deal. But hey, I'm quite sure that as soon as WWE is able to get the lawsuit against TNA swept under the rug and they can get back to business as usual, I'm quite sure we'll be seeing more of Ric Flair. And it's so funny because Eric Bischoff, TNA head producer, creative guy, he actually has some very nice, kind words to say about Ric Flair after getting word that he had popped up on Raw. He said pretty much wish nothing but the very best for Ric Flair. So very classy words right there from Eric Bischoff. Great total mark out moment though, seeing the Nate back. You know, also we had got a great mark out moment when we saw the ECW alumni, Mr. House of Hardcore, that's the current promotion that he has going on right now, his own promotion at that, Mr. Tommy Dreamer, who had teamed up with Alberto Del Rio and Miz to take on 3MBs, Heath Slater, Jinder Mahal, Drew McIntyre. A great 3-on-3 tag match right there. Of course, the team of Del Rio, Miz, and Dreamer picking up the victory. But in a backstage segment, we had saw the Shield played a numbers game as they did a beatdown on Tommy Dreamer, letting him know that it was their house. He had no business being there, basically. Tommy Dreamer posted a very interesting pic or two on Twitter showing the injuries that he had suffered at the hands of the Shield. And those pics were brutal. If you have not taken the time out to make it your business, check them out. Go hop on Facebook. We actually posted some of the pictures that are very intense, graphic, disturbing pictures that you see. His head is so swollen, his eyes are just so tiny, it just looks really, really bad. I just feel so sorry for Tommy Dreamer. Of course, one of the other greatest mark out moments of the night for me, it was really nice seeing this Boogeyman. I'm the Boogeyman, and I'm coming to get you. What a great moment right there, seeing him come back. I always thought that was such a fascinating character, a character of which that really, when you think about it, he was really not utilized properly for the duration that he was there in the company. And of course, little pet trivia, we said it on Monday night, but for those of you that are not aware of it, it was actually Shane McMahon that had came up with the Boogeyman persona. He deserves all the credit in the world for that, as Boogeyman is able to go around and take this character and actually still make a little bit of money off of it, even though he hasn't been doing anything in the WWE with it for a good couple of years now. Great moment seeing him come back. Of course, it's not a true mark out moment when you have the King of Kings, the Game, Triple H, come out pushing his new haircut, talking about what all had been happening since last we had saw him. Well, to a certain extent, he kind of danced around it a little bit, as he was mainly there to talk about his match that he had against The Undertaker at this past year's WrestleMania, as that match that he had against the Phenom was voted for the Slammy Award of Match of the Year. And Triple H answering a question that had been on a lot of people's minds, and no, it was not what's up with the haircut, or hey, when are you going to be stepping back into the squared circle? The question he would address was none other than, when is The Undertaker coming back? Of which Triple H said Undertaker will be back. He will be back soon. So you're kind of led to the assumption there that Undertaker He's coming back, duh. But you want to ask the more important question, when is he going to pop up? There's a couple of scenarios out there now where Undertaker could pop up. Undertaker could show up on the 20th anniversary episode of Monday Night Raw. That's going to be coming in just, 3 weeks away? Or he could be a surprise entry into next year's Royal Rumble. Try to see if maybe he can win it, go to WrestleMania, face the respected World Heavyweight or WWE Champion. It could happen, folks. Or he could pop up the night after the Royal Rumble. Maybe it'll be another case where he's deciding on who he wants to face at WrestleMania. Maybe he's getting ready to issue another challenge. Who knows, folks? But Undertaker's going to be showing up very shortly. But you know what was even more surprising was just the way Triple H didn't even address what was going on with him stepping back in the squared circle. I love the fact that they are just continuing to just push that storyline right now. Remember, the last time we saw Triple H, he pretty much said he wasn't quite sure when he'd be back, or if he was coming back, or if it was the end of the road for him. But you just think of that last time we saw Triple H a couple of months back, and you just think about what's been happening with him as of late. Seems like he's just been getting into that corporate role, that business side of the WWE, minding his peace, staying away from the squared circle. You can't help but wonder, what is it that's gonna take Triple H to that point where he does decide he wants to get back in that ring? And most importantly, when and if he does get back in that ring, is it going to be against Brock Lesnar? Now, we're hearing the buzz out there that Triple H, Brock Lesnar, it might not happen. Now, I would beg to differ. I would be shocked if they didn't go that route. I mean, that is money right there. And you still have a few appearances that you can squeeze out of Brock Lesnar before that contract expires. I'm very curious right now how they're going to be able to get back on that storyline and make the fans feel invested to the point that they want to see that rematch, because so much time has lapsed. And of course, as much as I would like to really dig into that right now, I am more intrigued on what's going to be happening with The Rock, CM Punk. I know really before WWE upper brass can focus on a Triple H, Brock Lesnar angle, they first need to figure out how this whole CM Punk Rock angle is going to be going down at the Rumble pay-per-view. Of course, we had heard the latest reports that The Rock is going to be showing up just a little bit before the Royal Rumble match there with the WWE Champion, as he's going to be appearing on a future episode of Raw, and he's going to also be appearing on a future episode of SmackDown. SmackDown is going to be coming from Miami, Florida, so very convenient right there. It'll actually be happening in his neck of the woods. Looks like Rock is going to be coming back a good more amount of times, as it looks like he's going to be involved with the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, and he's going to be showing up on the episode of Raw the night after the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. So 2013 is looking like a really good, strong year right now for the Brahma Bull and for Rocky fans, as we're going to be getting a good amount of appearances from the Great One in the early first quarter of the new year. I'm really loving that. I can't wait. I'm excited. Can't wait to see the chemistry that he is going to be having with CM Punk leading up to their match. Other main storylines that we had saw from Raw this past Monday night, of course, it was the biggest one of them all, which was AJ. Why did you turn your back on John Cena at the TLC pay-per-view? Why did you do him the way that you did him? And one of the awards that AJ had won was the Kiss of the Year. Now, she actually had won that award for the kiss that she had with John Cena. And she did address the WWE Universe about why she did what she did, which really her answer, when you really sum it up, was she doesn't owe anybody an explanation. A little bit of a tease right there. But, you know, we saw a pretty great main event match that ended in a way that had a lot of people dropping their mouths and just wondering what the hell is going on here. But the main event match was AJ teaming up with Dolph Ziggler to take on John Cena and Vicky Guerrero, as Dolph Ziggler pretty much cut all ties with Vicky after he had one very hot, passionate kiss with AJ Lee that just really pissed off the supervising general manager of Raw. Of course, one of the main highlights that we saw from Raw this past Monday night was the tag match that we saw between AJ Lee and Dolph Ziggler as they took on John Cena and Vicky Guerrero, which ended in a no contest because we saw interference from one NXT developmental wrestler Big E Langston, who came into the ring and made his presence be known as he just destroyed John Cena in the middle of the ring. And Raw had ended in a way that had Big E Langston, Dolph Ziggler, AJ Styles just standing as if they were some type of a stable, just looking over the dead body of John Cena. One of those moments that you look at and you say to yourself, okay, WWE upper brass, they have really done a superb job of separating Dolph Ziggler from Vicky Guerrero, as they have aligned him now with AJ and Big E Langston. And you know, quite honestly, I love the fact that they separated AJ from John Cena as far as boyfriend-girlfriend material, because it just wouldn't have worked out. The internet wrestling community, they're just so savvy. They are well aware of the picture that's floating around of John Cena with one of the Bella twins, as in real life he's actually dating one of them, as there was a picture floating around of the two of them at her high school reunion. So it just really wouldn't have worked out knowing that you had that picture floating around. Most importantly, you got those young girls out there, young pretty women that are all just hot and excited for John Cena whenever he comes through their neck of the woods, and you just want to continue to have that illusion be out there that he's nice, young, single, he's not attached. You know, I'd be surprised if that many women were even aware that he was married, because when I really think about it in retrospect, I know he just recently got his divorce and everything. He got that squashed, but I can't help but think about the times that I did see him come into the ring. He never did wear his wedding ring. I just thought that was a little interesting. Not even a tattoo of some sort around his wedding band finger or something around his necklace kind of showing off his ring, nothing like that. Very interesting that they decided to separate the two of them, but I think it's a smart move to do, because you want to make sure that you keep that core fan base of wrestling fans, especially the women that are really into John Cena. You want to kind of keep that illusion out there that he is free and he is available to mango. So I really like that they've put AJ with Dolph Ziggler, although I still feel that this was not necessary, but it is what it is. We got to deal with it, and it looks like at this rate, with the type of people that have aligned themselves with Dolph Ziggler, he has the key ingredients needed to go for that World Heavyweight Championship and probably have one long, impressive run as champ for at least the next 6-7 months whenever the trigger finally does get pulled. But once again, Raw just ending the way that it did with Big E Langston, that powerhouse of a man, just laying out John Cena like he was nothing. I haven't seen John Cena destroyed like that, not really, since Big Show there. So very interesting development right there. For those of you that would like to get the full review of what you might have missed from this past week's Monday Night Raw, highly encourage you to go backtrack into the archive section on blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR show and backtrack to our very special edition episode of the RCWR show, as we had made a rare Monday night appearance right after Raw, and we had covered the fallout from what all happened on that episode, including all the Slammy Award winners, more in-depth analysis. There was also a little bit of live fan reactions on that episode as well, so feel free to check that out. And if you like the way we had tackled the Raw coverage, you can always check us out every single Tuesday night for the RCWR show, Tuesday Night Wrestling Edition at 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on this very website. Of course, the big question that we have going on right there is, okay, John Cena's been laid out. AJ, why? Why is this happening? And those answers would actually come on the Tuesday edition of Super SmackDown Live, which was commercial free, something that you don't really hear too often, if not ever, from the WWE. Great experience. It was one of those experiences that really had you feel as though you were checking out a actual pay-per-view, like you were actually at the event yourself, as they did not take any commercial breaks. So you were literally seeing everything that the people in attendance were seeing to a certain extent. As once SmackDown was off the air, they actually continued to roll the tape, as they had did a few matches for Raw. As coming up next Monday, Raw will be pre-taped, just so you all know, but that's not going to make that much of a difference for us. We will still be reporting all the results for Raw next Monday night. We won't be giving away any spoilers, rest assured of that. But AJ would answer that three-letter word, that WHY question, on Super SmackDown Live in a very special interview segment with The Miz on Miz TV, as she revealed that the reason why she did what she did to John Cena is because when she initially lost her job as the Raw general manager because of the supposed fraternization that she was doing with WWE talent while she had a high executive position, she felt that it was all worth it and that it was very important to get John Cena's name cleared. And she thought that maybe she was on the right path when John Cena had kissed her a couple of weeks back on Raw. And obviously that kiss that John Cena did, it sent her mixed signals, as she thought that he had strong feelings for her, and she quickly had adopted strong feelings for him. And she thought since losing her job as the Raw general manager was worth it, because in her own sick, twisted, warped little world, she was getting closer to John Cena, and in time she began to feel rejected by him. She felt as though he was trying to keep her in the back, keep her away, because he was ashamed of her, ashamed of a dirty little secret that he might have had for her as far as having feelings go. And so after the rejection that she experienced for so many times from this guy, she decided that enough was enough. He broke her heart, so she wanted to break him. And hey, Dolph Ziggler was right there, basically speaking the gospel the whole time as far as she was concerned. And hey, she realizes the guys that she had been with over time, Daniel Bryan, of course, CM Punk. Now she has to put John Cena in that category, and hey, that's why she got with Dolph Ziggler. Now, she did reveal that Big E Langston is nothing more than a friend of hers who gets very offensive when you call her crazy, you make fun of her. Miz apparently did not really take in that memo well, because he put out there one too many wisecracks, and he actually got laid out by Big E Langston. And of course, we can't forget about that main event match that had happened on SmackDown from this past Tuesday night, as the main event had saw Big Show team up with Dolph Ziggler to take on Sheamus and John Cena, where once again that match ended in a no contest, as once more Big E Langston made his presence felt, once again just decimating the former 10-time WWE champion John Cena, laying him out exactly how he did him this past Monday night on Raw. And man, that was really Really a great moment right there. You know, I can't help but think about all this new blood of WWE wrestlers that have come in just these past 6 to 8 months. I mean, we got Damian Sandow, we got Antonio Cesaro, we got Ryback that just skyrocketed to the top in the WWE. We have the primetime players. We got the Shields, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. Now we got Big E Langston. This has just been really shaping up to be a really great year for WWE. I mean, when it comes to pushing new talent, creating new stars, WWE brass has done a phenomenal job giving the wrestling fans what they want, especially those wrestling fans that are tired of seeing the same rivalries, the same villains and heroes going at it every single week, at every single pay-per-view. They have really given a true dose of new blood, and you can't help but say to yourself, there's nothing but big things that's going to be happening for the company in WWE as they continue this new evolution of bringing out new stars. Really great job that they've been doing right here. And I, for one, am very curious to see where some of these new storylines are going to be developing with some of these new talents that have come in. My eyes are set on Big E Langston. I have already done all my research on this guy from the NXT promotion and checking out some of his matches, and I love some of the work that I've been seeing. I was a little bit critical of him earlier, and I still do feel that a guy like Ezekiel Jackson maybe should have been given another chance, but I do like what I see from this Big E Langston, and I love what's happening with Dolph Ziggler there. Of course, long-term wise, he is going to be one hell of a world heavyweight champion whenever they finally do pull that trigger. But overall, really great what we saw from these past 2 shows this week. And for those of you that might have missed SmackDown, you know, we did do a very special episode of the RCWR show, Tuesday Night Wrestling Edition. You can check that out in the archive section right now. And for the very latest on what all has happened from WWE, once again, we usually air our shows on Tuesday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern right here on blogtalkradio.com, so you'll always be able to check it out. And hey, if you're not able to catch us live in progress, you can always just download us in the iTunes, Zune marketplaces. That way you can take our episodes with you wherever you may go. We're going to take a commercial break right now, but when we come right back, I want to talk about the very latest from what all had happened on WWE's main event. And then we'll switch gears and we'll talk about the very latest and what happened from TNA Impact, as it was Championship Thursday night where a few titles were on the line. We'll get you guys caught up on all of that, as well as the very latest in wrestling-related news. So kick on back, relax. You're listening to the RCWR Show Weekend Edition, coming at you right now on December 22nd, 2012. We'll be coming right back, folks. Hang tight.
Ever get the urge to follow somebody? Then take a free moment during this commercial break to follow us on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. Also on Facebook at Infinity1 Productions. And just for that, we won't call the cops on you. Tired of those wrestling websites that give you redirects, spyware, weird pop-ups? How about those misleading headlines? Instead of hitting the keyboard in frustration, why not visit Infinity1Productions.com? Infinity One is the source for wrestling-related news and so much more without all the hassle. Visit Infinity1Productions.com. Your keyboard will thank you.
Hey guys, Lee Sanders here with the RCWR Show, and I'd like to take this time out to tell you about 1 or 2 quick apps that I think you should check out when you get a free moment. First app I'd like to recommend to you is an app from Stitcher. Now, Stitcher allows you to be able to play all our episodes of the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown on your portable devices, such as an Android phone, Kindle Fire, iPad, you name it, it'll be able to play it. So definitely highly recommend that you check that out. It's available for free in the App Store. Stitcher, new and smart way to play radio. Also, another cool app that I'd like to recommend to you all is a new app that came out not too long ago from Apple. That's right, Apple has recently come out with a free podcast app. Now, this app is really cool, folks, because after we are done doing our shows, all you have to do is just subscribe to our episodes. And you can do this by downloading this new free podcast app. All you have to do, visit the App Store on your iPhone or iPad and just search podcast. Once the app is downloaded, you can then type in the name of our shows, the RCWR show and Impact Showdown, and you'll be able to subscribe. It's that easy. So you have two cool free apps that you can check out and take all our episodes with you on the go. So get to it already.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
And we are back, Black Avenger Lee Sanders, with you all on this weekend edition of the RCWR Show. Hey, just wanted to let you guys know we got 2013 right around the corner, just a handful of days away. And there's, of course, going to be some major changes that's going to be happening for us. Now, one of those changes is going to be going into effect right now upon this announcement that I'm about to make. A few others will be coming in just a matter of weeks, but the first announcement that's going to be happening right now going forward is, it comes a little bit of disappointment for me, but after talking with co-producer Tammy and Zed for about 30-40 minutes on this topic, I did see their points and we all did walk away all in agreement. We're not going to be opening up the phone lines anymore. Now, that may come as a shock to some people, but before you get frustrated, irritated, let me just explain the reasons why this is going to be going down from here on out. You know, we have always had a phone number out there for folks to call in to get their voices be heard live on the air, share their opinions of what they liked, disliked about whatever show or pay-per-view that had came out for that week. And, you know, unfortunately, there has really only been about 2 people that has been consistent on a weekly basis calling into the show. Now, this isn't a knock to them, but, you know, I'm just thinking about it from a listener standpoint, and it's actually something that I had did for a first time in a couple of weeks, which is I had kicked back and I had listened to a handful worth of episodes, about 2 weeks worth, and I listened to it just as a casual listener. I just forgot about being a radio host, and I just embraced it as a casual listener. And I don't know about you guys, but, you know, I'm just thinking from that casual listener standpoint. I'm checking out the show because I care about the show's host. I care about his opinions. I want to know what he thinks about some of these angles that's playing out. And hey, if I do happen to have a question for him, maybe I'll engage him in the chat room, or maybe I'll send him a tweet, whatever. But I'm calling into the show, or I'm checking out the show to see what he thinks. And we want to just make sure that before things start getting twisted over here, that you all know exactly who the show's host is and who all is part of this whole big old engine that's making these shows go forward. And, you know, it's me, it's co-producer Tammy, and for the few times that he decides he does want to try to pop up on the air, and I'm still waiting on this guy to pop up on the air. He says he's going to do it, but he always ends up backing out at the last minute. Zed. The 3 of us, we're the ones that are behind the scenes, busting our ass, doing whatever we got to do to really make sure we put on a solid show for you guys every single week. And I don't want it to get twisted that because we have the same 2 people calling to the show, that they must be some type of special correspondents or they must be co-hosts, because that's not even the case. They just happen to be wrestling fans like you guys that call into the show and they want to share their opinions. Now, no disrespect to them, but the point where I'm at right now is we always put the phone number out there, say you guys can call in, and unfortunately, nobody calls in. And we put the phone number out there quite a few times to try to get you all's reactions. And, for me, until a day comes where there is high demand to open up the phone lines, then, unfortunately, we're just not going to be able to keep opening up the phone lines if all we're getting is the same people over and over again. Now, some people may hear that. They may feel alienated. They may feel like, okay, well, this is exactly the reason why I stopped listening to this other show, is because they wouldn't take calls. This is the first thing I want you to say to yourself. Are you listening to the shows because you appreciate the content? You appreciate what it is that the show's hosts are covering? You like the way it's presented? You like their enthusiasm? You like their personality? Or do you have your own agenda? Is this an agenda of yours where you're just trying to get yourself heard live on the air? You're trying to have your opinions be heard. It reminds me of one of those old sayings that my mom used to always say to me growing up. If you have too many cooks in the kitchen, eventually everybody is going to start butting heads. And I can just remember how earlier on, when I was doing all my research, gearing up to try to launch my own show here, one of the things that I used to notice was how we would hear 1, 2, 3, 4 guys trying to do a wrestling radio show together, and all 4 of these guys separately have their own shows, and they're all butting heads because they're trying to make sure that their voices are heard, and they're trying to make sure that they also have that time necessary to plug their own shows, rather than be more into, okay, we all are here as a team, we're all here as one. This doesn't need to be about egos. This doesn't need to be about self-promoting. We're all here to cover this. Let's be about it. If you have your own agenda, then my best advice is, sooner or later, you're gonna run into a roadblock. You're gonna bump heads with somebody else. And if you're at that point where you care more about having your voices be heard on the air, just cause, then you might want to go into maybe that direction of maybe considering having your own show. And again, we don't want people that feel alienated and irritated that we're not opening up the phone lines. We don't want folks that feel as though, well, since you all aren't going to be opening up the phone lines, we're going to, go listen to this other show because they will be opening up the phone lines. First of all, if that's your mentality, if that's how you're going to be operating, then honestly, we don't want you. We don't need you. We are just fine. Our numbers have picked up dramatically month after month after month. We are making our niche. We are reaching new ground with new listeners. And for me, I have a pet peeve about loyalty. That's what it's all about. I care about those that remain loyal to us, that always go out of their way to check out all the great shows that we put up. And, I think a perfect example of that, a good listener of ours by the name of Christian. And Christian, we know you're probably checking this show out right now. We want to just send you a heartfelt thank you. We just came off of a very grueling week of episodes that we put out pretty much for every single day of the week, with the exception of Friday. And Christian had checked out every single episode. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I hear and I see something like that, that's loyalty, that's dedication, and that's the type of listeners that I would hope is the general mentality of our listeners. And we love those listeners that go out of their way to retweet us on Twitter or interact with us on Twitter. Heck, even those that have a wrestling question or a general question that they would like for us to share on air, or even those that take the time out to hit us up on Facebook. They have some content that they try to share on our timeline, whatever. We love that. Or the fans that sit up and say, hey, when are you guys going to get some t-shirts? I can't wait to order them. I want to get some for me and my friends, help promote the show. We love that. and we would hope that this doesn't alienate you all too much. Now, again, we'll still have the phone lines. They'll be open. You can still call into the show. You'll be able to listen anywhere from wherever you may be. We'll still keep that active. And what's probably going to end up happening is maybe, depending on the amount of emails we receive, maybe once a month we might be able to dedicate an episode where we're reading questions from wrestling fans. Maybe we could do something where once a month we do open up the phone lines for about 30 minutes, get people's reactions to some of the things that's been happening. Of course, for the major pay-per-views, we'll open up the phone lines and we'll get you all's reactions to the events. Other than that, though, until a day comes where there is a real high demand of having a phone line be open where you all can call in and just have at it, share your reactions with us. Until we reach that point, it really just doesn't make any sense to have the phone lines continue to be open when we just have two people calling in to the show weekly. So hopefully you all appreciate where we're coming from on that. Other than that, guys and gals, we're going to be looking for a co-host. It's already underway right now. I got a couple of internet flyers that's put out there letting it be known that I am looking for a co-host, and hopefully within the first quarter of 2013 we can have some people that's going to be riding shotgun with me. Would be nice. And I think in retrospect, that was probably one of the main reasons why I was trying to look for a co-host in the first place. Try to get myself more comfortable, really loose, keep the show going forward, not really dragging on for a little too long. But now that I've gotten pretty comfortable over my skin, under my own skin, I have that confidence and everything. Now it's like, okay, let's just get a co-host, just somebody that I can really complement my personality. So we have that's going on. One last thing, and beginning February, we're going to try a little experiment just on Blog Talk Radio for our chat rooms and all that. We're going to change our handle. It's going to go from Infinity One Productions to Infinity One Wrestling. Now, we'll still be known as Infinity One Productions, but we're just trying this on Blog Talk Radio just to see if maybe we can attract more listeners, because I think that a lot of people are thrown off when they see the Infinity One Productions handle and they aren't really quite sure what it is that we're going to be covering. So we're going to try a little experiment and see if dropping the productions in favor of wrestling might help gain more followers, more listeners. And for those of you that subscribe to us in iTunes, Zune marketplaces, you're not really going to notice that much of a difference. The logo is still going to be the same, everything. It's going to be like daylight savings. You go to sleep, you're not going to really feel the effects of time going forward, time going backwards, whatever. You'll be okay. And we'll try this experiment for a couple of weeks in February, see how it works out. If it's a hit, hey, then we're going to run right with it. If not, then we're just going to go back to Infinity One Productions. We'll keep you posted, let you know what all is happening as the weeks progress, and we'll be reminding you guys on all the shows coming up leading up to February 1st so that you'll constantly be reminded. You'll know of the change. That way, when we do get ready to launch it, you won't be wondering where the hell Infinity One Productions went on Blog Talk Radio. But then at the same time, we would hope that the Infinity One is your dead giveaway right there, that it's still us. But hey, you never know. Some people, they might be under a different impression. All right, so let's go on ahead and let's talk about what had happened from Wednesday's main event. One of my favorite highlights of the week, as we had saw the tag team champions, Team Hell Knows, Kane and Daniel Bryan in action as they took on Team Rhodes Scholars, Damian Sandow and Cody Rhodes. My God, I always love it when we get Wednesday night, guys, because we get great, straight up, pure wrestling. Those of you that can't stand those storylines that be happening on Raw, the little bit of storylines that be leaking into on SmackDown, I know you guys can really appreciate main event where you just strip all that away. You might have a few recaps here and there, not really too long, but it's just pretty much about the matches. And this was a damn good tag team match that we got from this past Wednesday night. And I just love how there's just so much emphasis on this match it just really takes me back to those old days of watching AWA, and I used to be a big fan of that growing up as a kid, and I was very excited when AWA was popping up on ESPN Classic there for a very good minute. Can't find it anymore, it's long gone, as they also changed up the whole lineup altogether. I believe it's not even called ESPN Classics anymore. If it is, hey, that's news to me. But last I checked, they got rid of it altogether. But great tag team match that we saw right here between the team of Team Hell No and Team Rhodes Scholars. We saw Kane and Daniel Bryan pick up the victory, but we had got a double dose of tag team action on this past Wednesday's main event, as we also saw the team of the Primetime Players, Titus O'Neil and Darren Young, take on Zack Ryder and Santino Marella. Once again, I always love it when WWE puts the spotlight on their tag division, because really, and Triple H needs to get mad props for this. He has really done a phenomenal job taking the tag team division and really putting it back up there. He knows and he remembers how important that division used to be back in the day, because that was one of those type of divisions. You could just look at how some of those guys were in those tag teams, and you knew who was going to be that next breakout star. And I've really been enjoying seeing him just put all the right type of players together to really make that tag team division become very relevant again. Of course, Daniel Bryan Kane being at the centerpiece of it all, loving it. But main event this past Wednesday night, all about the tag division. Now, I know very shortly we're going to be talking about what all TNA needs to do going forward, what didn't work, as it is this episode that's going to be dedicated to talking about a year-end review for TNA Wrestling. But that's just one of the things that I will be talking about more on next Saturday's show, as we'll be doing a year-end review for WWE. But can't stress it enough. I'll be stressing it more next Saturday, but I love what's been happening with the tag team division. Been very pleased. Of course, it was a great week to be a WWE fan, because on top of getting the Slammy Awards on Monday night's Raw, on top of getting a commercial-free episode of a live SmackDown, we had also got main event, and we had also got tribute to the troops. And for those of you that might have sat out through the tribute to the troops episode, hey, you're not gonna get any animosity over here, not my way. No, I know exactly where you're coming from. For some of you, you may skip that tribute to the troops. I actually took the liberty of checking it out, since it did air pretty much not too far from my neck of the woods. It had went down in Norfolk, Virginia, and we saw a really cool moment where President Obama had gave a special message to the U.S. troops for their selfless sacrifice and service to America and the nation's interests all over the world. Really nice, classy moment right there. Match-wise, not really too many you could really sink your teeth into. We saw Sheamus and Randy Orton defeat Big Show and Dolph Ziggler, of course, as Randy Orton was there at that Tribute to the Troops special, which was taped just a couple of weeks ago. Randy Orton had actually injured himself in that match. And you want to talk about balls that this guy had. This guy has my freaking respect. He had threw out a punch, and you go back to the match, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But during this match that Sheamus Randy Orton had against Big Show and Dolph Ziggler, he threw a punch out there, and he pretty much had took his arm / shoulder out. I mean, it was out of socket. And during the whole match, he went to WWE medics, and they basically were able to pop it back in place, and he was able to go through and finish out the match. But man, Randy Orton, he is out on injury right now. He'll be back in a few weeks, hopefully. But you just talk about balls right there. That guy has my respect. Honestly, if that was me, My God, I think I would be laying on the ground crying like a baby if I took my arm out the socket. That is just ridiculous. But yeah, Randy Orton, he got injured. We also saw the Muffets, as they had joined WWE in honoring America's bravest. That was a very touching moment right there. Of course, let's not also forget, we did see John Cena in action. Oh yeah, the big John Cena was in action as he had took on Antonio Cesaro. If there was ever a time to put somebody that was a non-US resident against somebody that is not only the face of the WWE, but is just purebred American, and John Cena doesn't get as American pie right there than John Cena. That was the perfect example of a good classic matchup right there, where you can really have the crowd roar in favor of the hero there. Great moment right there. Ryback had defeated Alberto Del Rio via disqualification. We saw a bunch of different celebrities that were taking the time out to thank the troops, including Black Eyed Peas Fergie, U.S. Women's Olympic Gymnastics team, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, Katie Couric. Saw a whole other celebrities that took the time out to thank the good men and women that serve in the U.S. military. Of course, entertaining the troops was Flo Rida with Kid Rock. I really didn't care too much for that. Of course, don't forget, we also saw that great moment there from John Cena where he was talking about the importance of tribute to the troops and what it means to him and other WWE superstars and divas. You know, it's one of those type of shows that you kick back and you think about it. It's really nice what the WWE does on a yearly basis. Of course, let's not forget we also had Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, they were there. Miz, he had defeated Damian Sandow. You know, all around, it was a really good edition of Tribute to the Troops this past year, and 10th anniversary milestone at that. You know, I can remember the first couple of years there that Tribute to the Troops was still relatively new, and for me it used to be one of those moments. I used to love checking it out. Now as I've gotten a little older, I don't know what it is, but for some reason I just can't really get into it nowadays. I tried watching it this past Wednesday because it was the 10th anniversary edition, but I just really found myself not really being able to get into it like that. But it was a good show, don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking it, I'm not trashing it in any way. Hey, trashing that type of episode to basically be trashing the services that the good men and women do for us, and I for one am all for the Tribute to the Troops special. I appreciate what the good men and women do in the military, U.S. Armed Forces. Hey, I appreciate everything they do. True story, years back, I actually had tried to sign up for the Army, and I had passed every single test except for the math test. That's where I messed up the most. They were hitting me with some weird crap. I didn't even know what the heck they were asking me. Look, I know my adding, I know my subtracting, I know my multiplication, I know my division. I kind of know my fractions, but once you get past the fractions, you go to that more higher stuff. That's where I start struggling. So I obviously am not a brainiac. Yes, even me, the black guy Azrael Lee Sanders, has his faults. I admit that humbly. But yeah, I actually came very close to getting into the military myself there. So I definitely appreciate everything that the good men and women do. All right, guys, let's talk about what had happened from Thursday night's episode of Impact Wrestling, where it was Championship Thursday, and this was one of those nights that really is one of the best nights for TNA Wrestling. And you know, I just have to give TNA Wrestling mad props. You know, it's something that I had talked about on Thursday night's episode of Impact Showdown Radio, but I didn't really stress it enough. And when I went back to play the episode, I kind of felt a little disappointed because I didn't make that point very clear. But you know, what they gave us this past Thursday night as it was the Championship Thursday edition. You know, it was nice. It was a good episode for a pre-taped episode. I will admit that there have been numerous times before TNA Wrestling had went that route of going live. All their pre-tape shows were just horrific. I think when you look back on what had happened with TNA Wrestling this year, that was probably one of the main things that they were really struggling in, was the production value. And what we had got for a pre-taped episode in its new time slot, that was just hands down a really good episode. And, you know, I still feel the way I do from last Thursday, which is we didn't get enough matches. And I know we've heard quite a few bit of you that took the time out to interact with us between Thursday to now. You did hear about how critical we were of that episode of TNA Impact, and you let your voices be heard that y'all thought it was a really great episode. You didn't really see anything wrong with it. You know, me, I just wanted more wrestling. 4 matches just wasn't enough for me. But it was really all about the storylines that they were driving. And that is what overall made the episode this past Thursday kick ass, in my honest opinion, which is we saw the man behind the 1/3/13 video promos, as it was none other than, drumroll please, and co-producer Tammy, I'm still waiting for my drum roll. It's almost been a year and I still don't have my drum roll. It was none other than the icon Sting, and I called it for weeks. As soon as the video promos had begun, I'm saying to myself, it's Sting, it's not anybody else. That's his MO. That's how Sting works. Who else could it be? And sure enough, it was the icon Sting. And I know there were a lot of people that were actually disappointed. Some people thought maybe it was going to be somebody else coming into the company. Some people thought maybe it was going to be Jeff Jarrett. They were just going all over the place with that. But I knew it was Sting because it just fit him down to the T. And of course, you know what he's going to be coming back for. He's coming back for aces and eights. He wants a piece of their ass, and he's going to get it. And of course, one of the other highlights that we had saw from this past Thursday's Impact Wrestling was aces and eights embracing the news that Sting was going to be coming back on the first episode of Impact Wrestling of the new year, at which VP Devon, they feel as though maybe they need to try to see if they can recruit more people. Devon knows somebody. He had went on record and said that the person that he's thinking of is young, arrogant, and just might be able to do what he wants them to do. He might be willing to join them. He just needs to have a talk with him. And aces and eights, they all voted in favor of Devon talking to this young man. And of course, one of the other main things we had saw, speaking of aces and eights, you know, we did see them try to do a beatdown on the immortal Hulk Hogan, but Bully Ray had came to his rescue. Now, aces and eights, once they saw Bully Ray, they didn't want anything else to do with him or the Hulkster. And just when we thought that maybe we were gonna see the Hulkster and Bully Ray just put the animosity and all that to the side, and just when we thought Hulk Hogan was going to say, you know what, this Bully Ray character is really not that bad, okay, put it there, brother. We don't even see that happen. We just see Hulk Hogan not even say thank you to Bully Ray, just walks off. Of course, later on, as Hulk Hogan was getting ready to leave the Impact Arena, he ended up seeing his daughter, Brooke Hogan, kissing all up on Bully Ray as he got in his car and just drove off like a speed demon. I can only imagine what is going on in the mind of the Hulkster. I mean, you guys that are fathers that have those 12, 13, 14-year-old daughters, you probably can relate to where Hulk Hogan is right now. There is that guy that your daughter is interested in dating, and he probably just wants to get with your daughter just so he can get in her pants and say he was able to get those cookies. Or you just have a guy that is trying to go out with your daughter that really just rubs you the wrong way, even though he could come off as a nice guy, that you just don't like him in general. I can only imagine how you guys feel. So you all can without a doubt relate to this storyline that's currently working right now for TNA, and I'm really loving this new storyline. It's very relevant. You know, the best thing I like about this storyline is that Hulk Hogan isn't even getting physical, and his appearances are just very short, very brief. I love the fact that he is working with Bully Ray, a man of which really has done a 180 in the past year and a half. I mean, in all the years that I've watched Bully Ray, and I've said this time and time and time again, Bully Ray has put out some really great, phenomenal work. He has really embraced this Bully Ray character right down to his physique. I mean, he is just an entirely different person altogether, and I just really love how he's been playing out. Great chemistry that he's been having with the Hulkster. But you know, overall, that episode of Impact Wrestling, good storylines that you were able to take from that, especially one of the main points being that the Aces and Eights, they promised that in the year to come, which is going to be in a matter of days, they will be revealing themselves as they are going to be on their quest for championship gold. And of course, this calendar year, all we have gotten is two people that's been revealed to be tied into Aces and Eights. Devon, of course, and Doc, aka Luke Gallows. So very big things coming for 2013. And you know, with that in mind, folks, let's now go into an in-depth look with TNA Wrestling. We had promised you guys that we were going to be covering it on this episode, and what better place to do that than right now. You know, I think about some of the things that had happened in TNA during the course of this year. Now, as far as what didn't work for TNA this year, I can actually go out there on a limb and I can say what didn't work for them was always being pre-taped. Always taping their episodes a couple of weeks in advance. They do their thing on Tuesday and they're taping 2-3 episodes back to back, and pretty much everybody knows what's going to be happening because you got those guys that are at the arena that are feeding those dirt sheets out there everything that they're seeing, and as a result of that, it plays a huge role on the Impact ratings. So if you know what's going to happen, what's really the point of you checking it out? Only a true wrestling fan that doesn't care about reading the spoilers is going to sit up and check out the show. Only a true fan is going to kick back even after they've read the spoilers, still watch the show. But when it's all said and done, the ratings were taking a huge hit in the spoilers being put out there on the dirt sheet sites. So you had that was working not in favor of the company. The other thing that wasn't working in favor of the company is that they had these ridiculous storylines that were going on. Let's not forget, just earlier this year, we did have a case there where Garrett Bischoff was being shoved down our throats. A lot of wrestling fans were very agitated by it. They weren't quite sure what was going on with that, as we still were coming off of the heels of Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, and their little collaboration and everything that was happening with them. It was really one of those bad moments in TNA when you look back on it, and it was really testing the viewers. I say it was really testing a lot of TNA wrestling fans' patience, because it was like you knew that the company was better than that, and you just kept wondering to yourself, okay, TNA, when are you going to clean up your act? When are you going to get better? What the hell's going on here? The two good things that you had going on for TNA, at least almost up until the first 6 months of this year, was Bobby Roode, Cowboy James Storm. I mean, let's give credit to where it was due. This year really had became the way that it did, in part, hugely thanks to Bobby Roode. I mean, what he did to that TNA World Heavyweight title, that man made that belt be relevant for the amount of time that he held it, and he will always have that one thing that makes him stand out from all the other TNA wrestlers until somebody can surpass him, which is he has been the longest reigning TNA World Heavyweight Champion to date. And that's something that nobody will ever be able to take away from him, probably for quite some time. And, you know, he really single-handedly built back up the reputation of the company, and he was just one of those type of wrestlers you just loved watching him. And I know some people, they still feel kind of bad to this day that he's no longer the TNA champion. A lot of people, they felt like he got the raw end of the deal. I beg to differ. I think with what all was going on with Austin Aries was just white hot at the time, and he is still one of those white hot guys. He's not as white hot as he was earlier this year, but given what had went down at the time, a lot of people were getting behind Austin Aries, especially those that had been following his career since his days in Ring of Honor Wrestling. It was just one of those type of moments that TNA brass, they had to get behind Austin Aries, and they had to pull that trigger and make him be a world heavyweight champion. You know, I can definitely go back and say that when that moment had happened at Destination X, I honestly did not believe that Austin Aries was going to beat Bobby Roode. I thought for sure Bobby Roode was going to go over Austin Aries. And as a matter of fact, when I think about what all had went down on our Call That Match series, if I'm not mistaken, I did vote in favor of Bobby Roode. I have to go back and double check, but if I'm not mistaken, I do believe I had went with Bobby Roode for the win. But it was just one of those type of moments when it happened, true mark out moment for everybody, because it was like, yes, Austin Aries, he's finally reached that pivotal point in his career. And I think it just made winning the championship for him even that much more important when he had beat Bobby Roode, because Bobby Roode had already put in a lot of hard work as the champion. Remember, every single week on Impact Wrestling, every single pay-per-view pretty much, we always saw him fighting. He was always throwing it down, getting in that ring. But you know, it just seemed like after Austin Aries got the belt there, it was kind of like, okay, now what? And he just kind of got a little lost there. And then you just conveniently had Jeff Hardy, who had the contract expiring, and they're trying to work out a new deal with him, and Jeff Hardy just coming out of nowhere, been on that path of redemption. You know, it still kind of feels like Jeff Hardy just recently came back, but when you really think about it, he's been back in TNA now, clean, sober, free of his previous drug addictions. He's been on a really good, clean path for a good minute now, at least almost a year, maybe a year plus under his belt. And, you know, he just really feels and looks like a completely different guy that is at peace right now. And just to hear the news earlier this week that he's going to be staying with TNA Wrestling, that he does not see himself going to any other promotion, let alone WWE, I think the future is really bright for the company right now, because he is going to be one of those main key pieces that they are going to need going forward. And you know, one of the other things that I think about from TNA Wrestling this year, and it's something that I think that they need to improve on, okay? I think that some of the storylines that they do, they need to squash them. They need to think about the fans, and they need to think about what's happening on their end. They need to take in everything that the fans are saying. In order to do that, they need to pay better close attention to what fans are saying on the Twitter feeds, on Facebook, Instagram, chat rooms, heck, emails, YouTube videos. They need to be more interactive with the TNA Wrestling fans. And I think a good example of that is look what has been happening with the Aces and Eights. Aces and Eights has been going on for such a long period of time. I mean, in just a blink of an eye, we are very close to reaching 1 year that Aces and Eights have been around. And like I said on Impact Showdown Radio this past Thursday night, I am all for Aces and Eights identities being revealed in 2013. But I'd be more happier if it could be done within the first quarter of 2013. I think if it continues to drag on any further, that's really going to alienate fans to the point where they're going to let their voices be heard by changing the channel. And that's going to play a significant role in the ratings. It's not going to even matter if you have the Hulkster working with them or Sting working with them. You got to have an end game. And what I would like to see happen for TNA Wrestling going forward, some of these main storylines that they are able to come up with, they need to think more clearly on what the end game is going to be. I think they need to put more time into, okay, here's the storyline, here's point A, and here's how it needs to end at point B. What can we do from this point to that point? That's what they really need to put a lot of emphasis on. It seems like every single week we turn around when it comes to the Aces and Eights. Somehow they just keep stretching out and stretching out. They just keep going and going and going, and there's not really anything new that's being injected into the angle to make you want to stick around and check it out longer. I think also what needs to happen with TNA Wrestling, they need to work on longer feuds. I like what they did with the James Storm, Bobby Roode thing. Hey, I love how they had the Daniels, AJ Styles angle. I love how they had that culminate in the Final Resolution pay-per-view being dubbed as the one last match. That was a great moment itself right there. But you know, if there's one nasty trend that I have seen within recent months from TNA Wrestling, and it's actually been happening a lot this year. They have a rivalry that goes on for about maybe 2-3 months. Then it's moved on to something else. I don't want to see that happen. Don't let it be the end within 90 days. Let it keep going. I think fans won't be alienated. They won't feel that, okay, this is the same thing, this is a drag. Is if you keep putting a few new twists and turns to it. And they've been slowly working on that. I've been seeing a little bit of improvement within recent months, but they need to continue that trend. Another thing that TNA needs to work on, that they have slowly but surely started to get back on, but I want to see them embrace it just as they did in yesteryears, and that's their knockouts division. You know, there used to be a point in TNA Wrestling, and hardcore TNA Wrestling fans will remember this. There used to be a time where one of the main highlights of the night was the knockouts division, where quite honestly, the knockouts would have better matches than their male counterparts on some, if not many weeks. And I need to see that knockouts division come back at full throttle. It needs to go back to the way it was before. I mean, we had guys that were just loving the knockouts division. They didn't care about nice chest, nice ass. They didn't care about that. For them, it was like, oh God, these women, they know how to kick ass, they know how to wrestle. Hey, and they're pretty. Girls, they loved seeing what all those knockouts could do. And, a lot of those females felt a little alienated once they saw their favorite knockouts leave the company. They kind of felt as if there really wasn't a point for them to check out the content anymore. So I would love to see that knockouts division come back to the way it was before. And, seeing Velvet Sky come back, I for sure embrace that. I think that was a very smart move on TNA's part, especially Dixie Carter's part, as she was the one that had began contract negotiations with Velvet Sky to bring her back into the company. Also, I like the fact that we got Tara there. We got Mickie James back. Hey, we got Miss Tessmacher. We got Gail Kim. We just saw Madison Rayne come back. We got ODB that just signed a new contract. Hey, we got the lovely Taylor Hendricks. Soon as she is able to get it all down in the ring-wise, I'm quite sure we'll be seeing her come back in full effect. But it looks like the Knockouts division is really shaping up to kind of go back to the way it was before. But I really hope in 2013 that it really explodes. The other thing that TNA Wrestling needs to improve on, and they've already taken the right steps doing it, which is being more concerned about the quality of the type of shows that they put out. Now, I know they're more concerned about what's happening with their pay-per-views, but the production value-wise, that's something that they need to continue to work on. And when I talk about production value-wise, I'm talking about the storyline angles. They need to make sure that they plug in as many loopholes as possible. There are some storylines that you see that just don't make any sense. There's some angles that you see, you're kind of like, well, wait a minute, we still have this thing going on. Good example of that, we see EY pop up, we see ODB pop up, and the tag team knockout titles are not addressed. You look at Joseph Park and remember a couple of months back, Joseph Park was kidnapped by the Aces and Eights as he had discovered their identities. What happened with that? There was never a follow-up to that. That's something that is what I consider to be a loophole that you need to make sure is covered. So from a production standpoint, all their storylines need to be top niche, perfect, no loopholes, so that no fans can kick back and say, oh, hey, well, what happened with this? And I think TNA Wrestling learned the hard way when they did the Claire Lynch storyline, that if they really want to piss off their fans, give them some Jerry Springer, Steve Wilkos, Maury, Ricky Lake type of drama. I think we're really going to be okay from here on out. I don't think TNA is ever going to put us in that type of a bad spot again. One thing that really jumps out at me is their use of social networking. They really do not do that much with Twitter. I mean, they have all their wrestlers tweet to the fans to check out this show or do this, do that, but they really don't embrace it in a way that WWE does, and I like to see more of that happen. I would like to actually see TNA Wrestling take some type of a initiative where maybe every single week, one day out of the week, maybe a handful of TNA wrestlers could take to Twitter, could take to Facebook and interact with the fans. Something new that has really been starting to catch on, and if done properly can really gain a new crowd of audiences, is the Google Hangout spots, where you can sit up and you can have a live video conference with random folks from all around the world. If TNA were to embrace that, I'm sure that is definitely one way that they can bring in more of an audience and really bring that personal, that intimate type of level to the fans, really make them feel special, like their opinions matter, things of that nature. Of course, we know that Twitter has begun a marketing campaign where they're trying to make sure that their presence is felt more on sites like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, all the right steps that they need to really gain more exposure of the company as they're looking to try to save a little bit of money, cutting back on those pay-per-views. A smart move as we're going from 12 to 10 pay-per-views. But you know, the one thing that a lot of TNA wrestling fans have been telling us all this calendar year is TNA Wrestling, when are they going to just go on the road on a regular basis? Stop being so confided to the Orlando studios. And I think right now it just all boils down to costs. I think really that's what it's all about. And unfortunately, I think I'll tell you this, I'll go out on a limb. I think that TNA, the moves that they're trying to make for 2013, if done right, I definitely see at least maybe in the next 2 years, maybe even 3 years max, I do see them leaving the Orlando studios, Florida studio there for at least maybe 3 months, do some shows, come on back, be at Florida for a couple of months. I do see something like that happening, but the house shows, they really need to get out there and they really need to try to bring in more of a fan base. They need to go to a Madison Square Garden, or they need to go to Chicago, they need to go to Pittsburgh, they need to go to those areas where true wrestling fans are, because just because they think they know what they hear from a Florida crowd, you know, that might not really be the case for a New York crowd. Maybe the New York crowd knows something that management doesn't know. You know, those are the territories that they really need to try to focus on in the next few years and really break new ground. So hopefully those things can happen. I've seen a different side of Hulk Hogan. It seems like a side of Hulk Hogan that wants to try to really help take the company to another level, especially with him opening his new memorabilia store out there in Florida, not too far from the studios. Seems like he's really been trying to be more of a team player and helping them out and everything. I still kind of feel he doesn't do enough promoting at his end, but with Hulk Hogan, Dixie Carter, Eric Bischoff, you know, I must say that the past 6 to 8 months that we've been getting from TNA, it seems like it's been a completely different show altogether. The energy has just been different, and I'm very pleased with the direction that they are going in. And if they just take all those moves that I suggested, I really think that they have what it takes to really deliver a very strong show. And that's my thoughts on that. Hey, I want to know your thoughts. You can let us know what you think TNA needs to improve on, or what you would like to see happen for them in the new year to come. You can let us know by hitting us up in our chat room, or if you happen to be checking this out on YouTube, you can leave your comments down below. And hey, when we get enough feedback, we'll definitely follow up on this piece and let you guys know what you all were thinking there, okay? All right, so right before we move on, talk about the very latest in what all's been happening in wrestling-related news, I want to take this time out to let you, the wrestling fans, know who you all have voted for TNA Wrestler of the Year. Now, this poll had initially kicked off in November, early November of this year, and we asked you all, who did you think is the TNA Wrestler of the Year for 2012? And let's go on ahead and let's start with the top 5. And it goes as follows, folks. At number 5, we have the Cowboy, James Storm. At number 4, it is the It Factor in professional wrestling, Bobby Roode. That is probably going to shock and upset a lot of you people that just heard that right now. But at number 4, Bobby Roode. At number 3, Bully Ray. At number 2, the greatest man alive in the universe, Austin Aries. And folks, at number 1, the man that you selected as the TNA Wrestler of the Year 2012 is none other than the charismatic one, Jeff Hardy. Again, Jeff Hardy is your 2012 Wrestler of the Year. Now, we want to take this time out to humbly thank all of you that had took the time out to cast your votes, as over 100 plus of you all from November all the way up to now, you had cast in your votes for the TNA Wrestler of the Year. Now, for you WWE fans, we will have the WWE Wrestler of the Year on next Saturday's show, so make sure that you check that out. As just what we did with TNA Wrestling, we're going to take a very in-depth look in WWE, what worked for them this year, what didn't work, what they need to do going forward. We'll mention the WWE Wrestler of the Year on that special as well. You'll be able to catch it at the same time right here on this very website at blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR show. All right, we're going to go on ahead right now and we're going to take a commercial break. But when we come right back, we'll dip into the very latest in wrestling related news. And it's my favorite part of the show. We'll get you guys caught up on the very latest in entertainment news. I got some kick-ass reviews for you guys that you don't want to miss. I got some Green Day for you guys. It's been a while since we've been on the air, but I finally took a listen at Green Day's Dose and Trey albums. I'll give you the final verdict on that. I also got a kick-ass review for the Rolling Stones GRRR compilation that came out not too long ago, and the Target exclusive Blu-ray edition copy of The Dark Knight Rises. Great reviews that's going to be coming up. So kick on back, relax. We'll be coming right back in just a little bit, folks. Hang tight.
Always on the go and don't want to miss an episode of the RCWR show and Impact Showdown Radio? Then subscribe to us on the iTunes and Zune marketplaces using keywords the RCWR show.
And we are back. Black Avenger, a.k.a. the Black Azrael Lee Sanders, here with you all. RCWR show weekend edition. Okay, so let's jump into a few wrestling news-related headlines. Not really too much has happened since last we were on the air with you all. Now, for those of you that might have missed out on what you might have missed, you might want to backtrack to the episodes that we did this week, as we covered it all. So if I might be missing anything, you might find them on the previous episodes that we did this week. All right, so it looks like there's been a new development in the Owen Hart WWE lawsuit case. Now, it looks like at one point WWE officials were discussing inducting the late Owen Hart into the 2013 Hall of Fame class as part of a settlement with Martha Hart. Now, WWE, they reached out to Martha Hart about settling her lawsuit against the company and inducting Owen, but she turned it down. That really shouldn't be a shocker to you all. Now, there's a general feeling that eventually the lawsuit will be thrown out, but it's said that it could take a little bit of time. So take that for what it's worth. It could be a month, it could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, a year, 3 years. This has been dragging out for a long time now. Now, meanwhile, it looks like WWE is trying to come up with other names as far as who could be inducted into the 2013 class. Some of those names include the late Big Boss Man, Ray Taylor, Mick Foley, Bob Backlund, and Kevin Nash. Now, there's nothing set just yet, but WWE, pretty soon, they're going to be sending out the ballots within the company to get suggestions on other names that should be inducted. Very unfortunate. It seems like we come so close every time we hear that name, Owen Hart, and possible inductions. But Martha Hart, she just continues to just be hell bent. It is really looking as though the only way Owen Hart is going to really be inducted to the Hall of Fame is if the kids are the ones that's going to be taking over Owen's estate once Martha has passed away. Natural causes, hopefully, but that's the way it's looking right now. I got some latest development on what's been happening with Kurt Angle. Remember a couple of weeks back on an episode of Impact Showdown Radio, we have reported to you guys how Kurt Angle was suing this guy by the name of Wafi Wahadini, as he had claimed last month he had hired this guy to create a app that is for his fitness program that he has called Angle Foods. Now, he had released a series of tweets bashing Wafi Hadini. Just to refresh you guys on this, he said, direct quotes right here, "Wafi, you are being sued. Don't ignore the letters by mail or email. This is serious. The media is next. I want my $35K back. At Wafa Wadini is a scam artist. I'm suing him for $35,000. He and Waba Social are fake. My attorney is suing him right now. Please listen. Wafi Wadini and Waba Social scammed me for $34,700. He scammed me. I don't want to hurt him. I only want my money back." Wafi Wadini was supposed to make a fitness app. He didn't. I spent $35K to do it. Wafi failed by October 24th, and I'm suing this scumbag. I'm suing Wabi Social and Weave Social. Wafa Wadini changed the company name. He is from Cali and moved to Denver. He's a crook. I lost a lot of money because of this person. My attorney has civil and criminal charges against him. He followed that up with, "Thank you to all my friends for your support. I want to make sure it will never happen to anyone else. His name is Wafini Wadini. Thanks to all my friends for your support. Love you. God bless." God bless, not breast. Don't even get me started. You know where my mind is today, folks. Oh, God. Anyway, so yeah, latest development on that. It looks like a legal settlement has been reached with Mr. Wadihi, as this is what Kurt Angle had to say. Quote, "A fair settlement has been completed with Waba Social. The settlement ends any dispute with Wafa Wadini and Kurt Angle." So really glad to hear that one is in the books. And it looks like a former TNA tag team is going to be reuniting for a worthy cause. It looks like they might be doing something for the troops. It looks like Shannon Moore and Jesse Neal, they're going to be reuniting to form Inc. Incorporated. It's going to be taking place at a OSF event coming January 19th, 2013. So just in a couple of weeks. Taking place at the National Guard Armory in North Carolina. For those of you who are a little bit interested, if it's close by your neck of the woods, they have a Facebook page. Find them on Facebook. Name of the page is the Operation Save Foundation. Once again, on Facebook at the Operation Save Foundation. For those of you that are a little bit curious about when you'll be able to catch The Rock, it looks like he'll be appearing live on the January 7th episode of Raw from Tampa, Florida. Remember, I was telling you earlier, Rock is going to be coming back for a week's worth of episodes for Raw and SmackDown. So once again, January 7th of Raw, that's going to be coming from Tampa, Florida. And if you need any other refresher memory course for remembering that date, just remember that's going to be the first Raw of the new year 2013 that you'll be seeing The Rock in action. Now, he's also going to be appearing at the SmackDown tapings the following night, which will also be taking place in Miami, Florida. So two really great moments right there of seeing the Brahma Bull. I can only imagine how that Florida crowd is going to be. Got some video game news for you guys that ties into wrestling, as game publisher THQ, best known for releasing Disney, Pixar titles, most importantly WWE titles, is going to be handing itself over to a new owner. That's right. The name of that owner is Clear Lake Capital, and they're fronting $60 million to acquire THQ's business, including 4 developmental studios, Vigil Relic, Volition, and THQ Montreal, and all of its game order to facilitate the sale. Now, THQ has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. They just did this earlier this week on Tuesday. THQ says the operations will resume as normal during the transition should the bankruptcy court approve. Direct quote right here from the CEO, Brian Farrell from THQ, said the sale and filing are necessary steps to complete THQ's transformation and position of the company for the future. As we remain confident in our existing pipeline of games, the strength of our studios, and THQ's deep bench of talent. Now, according to THQ, in addition to its internal studios, Clear Lake plans on inheriting all of its existing contracts with outside developers. And you know, we had asked you guys earlier this week, what did you guys think of what all was happening with THQ filing for bankruptcy there? Not really too many of you had that much to say, but for those of you that would like to chime in your thoughts, you can do so. We have the article up at our website over at InfinityOneProductions.com. Feel free to hop on over there when you get a free moment and let us know your voices on that, and we'll definitely follow up on that probably on the Tuesday night edition of the RCWR show. Now, with regards to this, THQ filing for bankruptcy, WWE, they did respond to this. Now, they released a statement which is listed in the filing of a $45 million creditor. They say that even if THQ cannot deliver on payment, WWE financials will not suffer. So, very interesting right there that WWE is claiming that the $45 million won't affect financials, but I don't know, seems like, I don't know what's going on with this, but I would think that this would panic the investors seriously, because, I mean, this is significantly huge. And, I mean, for WWE, they've made such a decent amount of profit on these video games. I think if there was ever a time to really jump ship and go over to another company, I honestly would like to say that now's the time. I think WWE would be in its right to go over to another game developer. Now, I know some people are sitting up and they're saying, oh God, please don't let this be a case where WWE might go to EA. Honestly, I would be shocked if WWE went over to EA. I just don't see that happening. I just don't. I think at this point, WWE, they really, I think they get, I don't know, man. I'm fumbling with my words because I just get the impression that maybe WWE is more concerned about quality, and they want to make sure that these games are coming out just right. And I don't know, I just don't see EA happening for them. If you wanted to pick my brain on this, honestly, how badass would it be if WWE signed some type of a video game deal with Epic Games, or maybe if they sign some type of deal with Rockstar? I think that would really be taking it up to that next level. I just don't see EA being it, especially with the problems that they're always having with their servers, always constantly needing updates. I just don't see EA happening, but it should be a very interesting transition of what's going to be happening with WWE there. Now, the direct quote that WWE had to say about this, they said, WWE is listed in THQ Incorporated's recent bankruptcy filing as an unsecured creditor holding a claim of approximately $45 million, reflecting the entirety of the existing multi-year agreement. Any impairment of a current THQ account receivable would be immaterial to WWE's financial statements, even if the impact of THQ's bankruptcy were detrimental to to WWE, the company does not believe the ultimate economic impact for financial statement purposes would materially and adversely affect the results of operations or financial position of WWE in light of the strength of the WWE brand and the historical performance of WWE's video game business. So there you have it right there, folks. Other than that, other wrestling related news I got for you guys, it looks like New Jack has been pulled from the upcoming December 29th Extreme Rising event. Yeah, they had issued a press release statement, and they said that New Jack is out due to injury, as Blackout is to face a mystery team. Now, here is the official press release that came from Extreme Rising on Friday. I'll read it in its entirety for you guys. I want to make sure we hit all the right points here. Extreme Rising has made one of the most difficult but logical and reasonable decisions that it has had to make since allowing Sabu to return to action for the company in June. For some time now, the owners and partners of Five Guys Wrestling, the parent company of Extreme Reunion / Rising, have come to a decision that most likely be received negatively at first, but after the initial thought, it is a positive decision and move in a proper direction. Many times in sports and sports entertainment, star players play hurt without ever telling anyone in the fear of losing their spot or pay. These players are willing to put their bodies and lives on the line by playing injured, unbeknownst to management and ownership. Five Guys Wrestling and the general public have recently been exposed to the knowledge that one of our own is seriously injured, and no matter how it may affect the upcoming event, we must take the responsible decision here and make the unpopular choice and all talent working for Extreme Rising. On Saturday, November 17th, at the Extreme Rising event at the Golden Dome in Monaco, Pennsylvania, New Jack, real name Jerome Young, proceeded to devise and execute his plan to jump off 12 feet bleachers onto a table with another wrestler laying on it. New Jack proceeded to jump twice. As the first attempt, the table did not break. After the second jump and successfully breaking the table, New Jack proceeded to the ring to give a speech. At no point during or after the event did New Jack ask to see the licensed doctor or staff, Dr. H. Pagan. After his match, New Jack was in the back where he seemed fine and didn't mention any injury as he talked about future plans for the company with Cody Michaels, Mark Keenan, a licensed chiropractor. The company was not notified of any injuries sustained until 3 days later, which would have been November 20th, 2012 at 7:10 p.m. as New Jack contacted Five Guys Wrestling partner Steve O'Neill via text messages stating he had a hairline fracture in right heel and foot, deep bruised thigh and ribs, bruised kidney, and blood in urine. Other than that, I'm straight. That's what he said, folks. Upon notification, Shane Douglas, Troy Martin, Cody Michaels, real name, Shane Douglas, real name, Troy Martin, Cody Michaels, real name, Mark Keenan, Kevin Klinrock, and Michael Neal were all notified about the situation. Now, late evening on December 3rd, 2012, via telephone, New Jack informed Extreme Rising that he saw his doctor and was told he needed surgery as soon as possible to repair a chipped bone in his ankle that was causing him pain, but said he was going to put off the surgery until after December 29th. Extreme Rising and all parties communicating with New Jack strongly advised against postponing treatment and advised him to proceed with all necessary treatments for his health and well-being. On December 10th, 10:49 a.m., New Jack informed the public on his Facebook page, Dove twice on Jersey 2nd, jump, broke ankle, and cracked heel, went to ER, got admitted for 2 days, grand total $8,000. Who is responsible for Bill. Extreme Rising. Do I have insurance? Yes. Told hospital don't send Bill to my insurance yet. Was supposed to have surgery last week and canceled it because the show on December 29th. Been on pain pills since that show. Extreme Rising has requested information as to the hospital and doctor that treated New Jack but has yet to receive information. After much deliberation on this matter, the collective ownership have unanimously agreed that it was in the best interest in the health of New Jack and company to remove him from the December 29th card so he can schedule his surgery, rest, and not re-injure or aggravate his injuries any further. Such actions on the part of New Jack or Extreme Rising by sanctioning it would only serve to jeopardize New Jack's already war-torn body. We understand that this decision may not be popular, but we all agree and feel that this is the best interest of everyone involved. Extreme Rising takes its fans' concerns very seriously and acknowledges its fans' great interest in this match and this angle. Still, we must, when knowledgeable of any risk to our talent, be unwilling to allow any further risk or harm to befall our talent. Any other decision would be immoral and possibly negligent, said Shane Douglas. With our fans' interest in mind, Extreme Rising will discuss rescheduling this cage match for its 2013 schedule, provided medical clearance is obtained from New Jack. And folks, there you have it right there with what's been happening with New Jack there in a nutshell. I mean, you want to talk about just ridiculous right there. That is just beyond ridiculous that he was trying to sit up and he was trying to work through all those injuries, and seemed like he was really more concerned about the money. That's really the impression that I was getting from that. That was actually my first time reading that for you guys, as I had heard about the injury, but I wasn't really sure of the exact extent of it. But that is just really devastating when I hear that. And yeah, I mean, when you got that type of injuries and anytime you got blood coming out in your urine, you definitely need to just sit on the sideline, take it easy, worry about getting back to 100%. So it may suck right now for this guy, and he probably really can't afford all these bills and the operation that he's going to need to get, but you know what, somehow he's going to have to figure out how to do this. Hey, there is co-payment, or there are payment arrangements that can be made if one doesn't have the proper medical insurance coverage, but hopefully this guy, you know, I'm not really a fan of New Jack, and I really don't know that much about him. I've heard his name. I've seen a few of his matches. Haven't really been too pleased with what I've seen. Don't really particularly care too much about him, but I will go out there and say that, you know, when it comes to your health like that for any entertainer, any sports athlete, you want to take care of the body. You want to take care of the mind. You want to make sure that you come back at 100%. Nothing else matters. All right, guys, you know how we do it over here on the weekend edition of the RCWR show. We love to kick back and be laid back as always, and we really hope that you're having a really good weekend so far. Now comes the favorite part of the show, where we dip into a little bit of entertainment news, and man, what great way to kick things off than by playing a RCWR show premiere. It's going to be a kick-ass song that you guys are getting ready to listen to. It's from one of my favorite rock bands from Seattle in the whole wide world, Alice in Chains. And Alice in Chains, they had just confirmed that they are now done with their studio album. This will be the 5th full-length album that's going to be coming out from this band, and it's going to be due in early 2013. Of course, we were supposed to get this album a lot sooner, but Jerry Cantrell, he had to get surgery done on his shoulder, and as a result of that, he was not playing guitar for a good minute. Might have been able to put some vocals down, but he wasn't able to do his thing with the guitar. But they got the recordings finally out the way after he got to a healthy 100%. And we don't know the name of the new album right now. However, we do know the name of the new single that they've released. It's called Hollow. And little background story to this song. Alice in Chains, they went on Instagram about maybe 3 weeks ago asking the fans to submit images, videos that complement the lyrics to the song Hollow. And basically the group members, they would try to sit up and figure out what image is what would really go good in telling the story of this song. And visually, it is something that is really stunning. If you haven't seen it yet, then you definitely want to make sure you hop over on YouTube, go to Alice in Chains official channel, and you'll be able to see the fan-made video for the song Hollow. But in the meantime, folks, kick on back, enjoy RCWR show premiere, Alice in Chains Hollow. Now, for those of you that might have not been able to hear the song, if you're checking it out on YouTube, of course, due to copyright restraints, we don't want to get in trouble with the band, so, that's why you guys didn't hear it. Now, as I was saying earlier, guys, this is from a upcoming album that has yet to be named, but it is due in the first quarter of 2013, and that comes from Alice in Chains guitarist Jerry Cantrell. Now, it should be noted that this will be the second time that William Duvall, the new lead singer of Alice in Chains, is going to be coming back to the band to lay down vocals. And if you haven't checked out 2009's Black Gives Way to Blue album, I highly recommend that you check it out. It was a total kick-ass album that was looked upon as the comeback album of the band, and they had just a ton of momentum that was going when they had put out that album, and they were supposed to be pretty quick about it with regards to putting out another studio album. But unfortunately, Jerry Cantrell, he had to get some surgery done on his shoulder. Thus, he had successfully got shoulder on his opposite shoulder there, as he got the same procedure done on the other shoulder just a couple of years back, but this had sidelined him greatly for a bit. So unfortunately, there was a little bit of a delay there getting this new album. Now, for those of you that want to buy this track, you'll be able to do so in January on the 8th. So again, January 8th, that's a Tuesday for you guys. You'll be able to buy this track in the iTunes, Zune marketplaces, Amazon, everywhere. And I would think that the album should be coming out at least right before March. I would think definitely before April. The album is already done, so we just needed to come out already. One of the most grindiest, darkest tracks I have heard from the band since they've been back. This track just really speaks to me in large volumes of Lane Staley's vocals. It just has that nice little vibe to it. It has a little bit of No Excuses in there, kind of mixed with another song of Jerry Cantrell and Lane Staley. I don't know, maybe a little bit of Wood. I don't know, kind of has that little type of vibe to it, but it's definitely a really dark, kick-ass song. I really love it. The images that are playing in the video for this song that were fan-made images that were submitted to the band for this fan-made video of Hollow, it looks good, but this is just one of those songs you could do without the visuals. This is just one of those songs you just crank up the volume really loud and you just jam to it. So I really hope you guys enjoyed that track. And once again, it's going to be coming out on January 8th, 2013. Hopefully the album will come shortly after. Of course, as soon as that album drops, we will have a in-depth review of that on a future episode of the RCWR show. And maybe, who knows, maybe we can get one of the band members to stop on by and talk about what it was like recording this album. Hey, we will make the effort, we promise you guys. But for you guys that were listening to it live and on the downloads, nice little bonus for you guys. All right, so let's talk about that Batman Dark Knight Rises DVD. I had checked out the Target edition that had came out, and this one was really cool because the one that I had ordered, it had two different Blu-ray digibooks one, Bane, and the other is for Batman. Now the one I have the one for Bane. It kicks cool ass. Now, content-wise, of course, that's still pretty much relatively the same. Now, the DVD version, of course, you get a really cool featurette, which is the Bruce Wayne featurette. And for that one, I have the Blu-ray edition, by the way. That one comes with a ton of extras, and the one that really jumped out at me the most was the Batmobile one. I just really love seeing the stories and just beautifully, just all the kick-ass Batmobiles that's there. I just am just oozing, just still thinking about all those Batmobiles that they had in the featurette there. I also had like the multi-part ending the night featurette. That one really kicked ass, where they were talking with Christopher Nolan and crew about trying to put the finishing touches on the Dark Knight trilogy. There's also a art gallery. Of course, you also get a digital copy of the film. You can't go wrong with that. And I was able to score this for a pretty nifty deal, mainly because of who all I know, as I do know somebody at Target. I was able to get this for a really good discount. But, usually this will run you right now. Well, I can only imagine how much it is now. I originally had acquired this during the first week that it had came out, so I was able to get it for an even lower price than what was advertised because I got the hookup. But I would think now you would probably have to pay about maybe close to $40. Which really, when you think about it, you're getting gypped, because if there was ever a time to want to try to check out the Dark Knight Rises, it actually would have been for the trilogy box set that had came out from Amazon. And on that one, you had a pretty sweet deal where you were able to get it, all three movies at that, for just $29.99. Damn good deal. So now that that's coming past, you're going to have to pay a lot more, as now I believe even after shipping is included, I think now for just all three movies Blu-ray, I think now they probably want you to pay just a little bit close to $60. So mad props if you were able to catch that as it was on sale as a pre-order. Otherwise, you're gonna have to pay a pretty hefty penny, and just for the Dark Knight Rises alone, that's probably gonna run you about $30 on Blu-ray. If you ask me if it's worth checking out because of all the cool bonus content that you get, I would actually say yes, it's actually worth it. For those of you that don't really care, then yeah, you can just stick to getting the $20+ usual edition. But if you really want your money's worth, I highly recommend that you get the digicopy and get all that bonus content. If you have those Blu-ray players, you know you need to get this on Blu-ray and pick up all those extras. And while we're talking about reviews, it had slipped past me a couple of weeks back because I was just gearing up for, I guess, one of the pay-per-views that might have been coming up, but it had slipped past me. I meant to give it a review, but it just kept getting on the back burner. Then when the third album had came out, I said, okay, I definitely have to cover this now because I have a little bit more content I can cover here. I definitely want to talk about the Green Day Dose album that had came out back in November. I'm still relatively new. Hey, I'm a month plus off, but hey, it's still new. To follow up on this, I actually thought this album was better than Uno. I know some people may disagree with that, but there was just something about Uno that just felt a little bit too melodic to me. It just felt a little too slow. Dose, on the other hand, was a fun type of rock album. It's a little bit more dirtier, a little bit more in your face, had a party type of vibe to it. And I love the track titled Amy that comes on at the very end. Great song. It's dedicated to, of course, the late Amy Winehouse. Also, there was another song that stood out to me, Nightlife. I also had and I'm not saying this, okay? This is the actual name of the song, Fuck Time. I like that one. Wild One, that was a good song. See You Tonight was a good one too. But I thought overall this album stood out more than the Uno one. Alright, and let's talk about the last Green Day album that had came out from the band just a couple of weeks ago. It was released on December 7th. Of course, I'm talking about Trey, as this is the third and final installment of the Uno Does Trey trilogy, as this marks the 11th studio album from the American punk band. As meantime, Billy Joe Armstrong, he continues his rehab after having a serious few scenarios there of breakdowns, mental breakdowns at that. This album, I gotta be brutally honest, this was an album that just really felt as though it was just slapped together. It just felt like it was just thrown together just for the hell of it. I really didn't pick up any type of creative direction from this particular album. I couldn't help but go back to Dose and Trey. I had really enjoyed those albums more, and it sucks because you now have to consider this one to be part of their vision, and I don't like the overall vision. I'm not really feeling this one. Out of a scale of 1 to 10, I would have to give the Trey album, I'd have to give it a 4.5 out of 10. The Dose album, I would give that one a 7 out of 10. Uno was still my favorite. Dose is a good one, but this last one that they did, they should have stopped while they were ahead. Some songs kind of have a little type of punk rock vibe to it. It kind of has a feel of their Dookie and Insomniac albums, but I just really had a hard time grooving to each song. I just kept hitting the fast forward button, and when I hit the fast forward button more than 3 times, then I know I'm pretty much done with the album. And this is despite listening to all the tracks. Really didn't please me worth a damn. Sorry for you Green Day fans out there, but hey, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, right? Right. Alright, let's switch it up a little bit and let's talk about the Rolling Stones GRRR album that had came out earlier last month. Now, this is a really, really great compilation album. Probably of all the compilation albums I've had the pleasure of acquiring over the years, this one is a really great compilation album. It is one of those type of compilation albums, if you come across somebody that is not really familiar with the Rolling Stones catalog, this is one of the compilation albums that you want to give to them. Now, I'm going to address the million-dollar question that is on a lot of you all's minds. Okay, Lee, hopefully you're going to be talking about the 80-track box set that is floating around. That 80-track set that basically is your 4 CDs, a bonus CD, a 7-inch vinyl, hardcover, poster, postcards, all that. I actually have a buddy that has that, and he really felt as though he was gypped, because this box set, it runs a hefty $145, just the bare minimum that you can find it. I've seen it go as high as like 200 plus. I mean, it's making a killing on eBay. If I were to really break this down, unfortunately, you don't really get that many new songs on here. And when I say new songs, I'm not talking about new studio release songs, because when it comes to that, yes, Rolling Stones, they did release 2 new songs. One of them is called Doom and Gloom, and the other song that they have is One More Shot. Those 2 songs, I love those songs. Those songs kick ass. You can find those on any edition of this GRRR compilation set. And bear in mind, there is at least 5 different sets that's out for this compilation. So if you want the 40-track one, which is basically 2 CDs, jewel case, booklet, you can get that. There's a 50-track set, which is basically 3 CDs, a digipack, 24-page booklet. There's a 50-track 3 CDs box set with a 36-page hardcover book and 5 postcards. There's a 50 track. You get 5 to 12-inch vinyl box set, and then there's the 80 track I was just talking about earlier. And I saw some of the nice little stuff that was in there, and you know, a lot of people, they would probably feel more inclined to get the 80 track set because there's that 7-inch vinyl record that's in there, and they kind of feel as though, ooh, this has a lot of rare songs that it's really hard to come about, while in actuality the songs that are on that 7-inch vinyl, if you know how to look right on the internet, you can actually find those songs on a CD. You can maybe find it on Amazon, you can find it on eBay. Those are your best bets. I have a few other sites that I would recommend that you go check out, but I don't want to get myself in trouble. But all I can say is Google is your best friend, because that's where they really try to gyp you, is with that 7-inch vinyl record that's in that box set, that massive $145 box set. Those songs are recycling online. You can find them. Hell, you can even find them on YouTube. It's that easy to come across. So I would just stay clear from that $145 box set. If you ask me what's the best way to go, honestly, I would go with the 50 track set. If you're gonna go for the 80 tracks, honestly, just try to go for the music. Don't even try to go for the hardcover, the poster, and all that. Not unless you are just a real hardcore Rolling Stones fan. But I think even that traditional vintage hard rock fan of the Rolling Stones wouldn't even try to bother with this, because all the songs have been recycled. You know, there's really nothing that stands out, unfortunately. But for the box set itself, you know, if I were to rate it from a scale of 1 to 10, I would have to give it a 8 out of 10. The price is just too much, though. I think that's what it boils down to for me. But it is one of the most comprehensive box set compilations I've seen in quite some time from the band. Definitely a be-all, end-it-all. And if you guys weren't able to check them out on that pay-per-view concert, One Last Shot from last Saturday, you missed out. That was really one kick-ass pay-per-view. Mad credit to WWE too for being the one that distributed that concert. Really hitting a home run, I feel, as they've set the mark. I feel that in years to come, they are going to be working with major recording artists to distribute more concerts live on pay-per-view. I think WWE has found a nice little niche and what they can look into outside of wrestling. And, you know, I wrote a very extensive review about that concert experience, as I did check it out on pay-per-view. You're more than welcome to go give that a read. It's over at our website right now at infinityOneProductions.com. Check it out. Thank me later. All right, guys, you know, we had a jam-packed episode today. I mean, we just went all over the place on this episode. And hey, I would love to kick back and just keep doing this more, but you know, we put out a solid week's worth of episodes, and I highly encourage you, if you haven't checked them out yet, go backtrack, check them out. You know, one of my favorite episodes, and it is in my top 5, that what I had did this week, me and the lovely co-producer Tammy, we had sat down and we had did a interview with Dr. Bart Rossi, and this was a really great in-depth interview. We of course had covered the shootings from Connecticut last Friday, and like many of you, we were kicking back. We were trying to make sense out of everything that had happened, and You know me, when it comes to the RCWR show, I want to kick back and I want to make sure I get as much information as humanly possible, and that's exactly what I had did. And once I had found out what all had went down, I said, okay, you know what, we need a special guest to come on in and help us out with this. And so I got in contact with Dr. Bart Rossi, and really nice guy. He took the time out to sit down with us and do the interview, and it was a really great episode. It was an episode that I'm very proud of. I haven't even gone back and listened to the episode yet, and it's so funny because co-producer Tammy, Zed, some of our friends, they had listened to the episode and they were like, oh my God, it's a really great episode. You guys were really on point. A lot of valid points were made, and they keep trying to convince me to go back and listen to it, but I refuse to go back and listen to it, despite them telling me how good of an episode it really was. I don't know, it's just, for some reason, I just don't want to go back and listen to it. But if you haven't checked out that special that we did, go backtrack into our archive section, check it out. It was one of the most strongest episodes that I was very proud of, and it met great praise. A lot of listeners, they appreciated it, and they let it be known that they wanted us to look into the future of diving into those type of topics, try to really go more outside of wrestling. And trust me, we're definitely going to be working on a few more angles like that in the near future. But if you haven't checked out all the solid week's worth of shows that we had put out this week, as we were very busy over here, go check them out. And that's going to do it, folks. I do thank you humbly for checking out this episode, and if you had checked out all the other episodes that we did this week, I thank you 2 times. And of course, we want to extend a heartfelt thank you to the great staff at Blog Talk Radio for featuring our episode that we did this Wednesday covering the Connecticut shootings. Thank you to the Blog Talk Radio staff for featuring that episode, as they let it be known, at least the person that we were talking to, that they've been checking out our shows off and on, and they like the great content that we put up. And to hear that from someone of the Blog Talk Radio staff, that definitely lets us know that we are on the right path with our shows. Of course, you all, the listeners as well, that always tune into the shows, you let your voices be heard as well. Always nice to get that seal of approval that y'all appreciate the good hard work that we're putting in. And hey, we're going to keep it rolling going into 2013. Rest assured of that. We are going to be on a well-deserved break, but we'll be coming back this Tuesday night for the RCWR show Wrestling Edition. Get you guys caught up on the very latest and what you might have missed from WWE Raw. Also the very latest in wrestling-related news and so much more. Guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. And hey, Merry Christmas to you all. And yes, I realize this Tuesday is going to be Christmas, but we're still going to have a pre-taped episode for you guys, all new, that you'll be able to check out on Christmas Day at your own leisure. So we'll have it ready for you. It'll actually be ready as early as Monday. If you're a YouTube subscriber, you'll actually be able to check it out on YouTube in the wee hours of the night, late Monday night. Otherwise, Blog Talk Radio listeners, you'll definitely be able to check it out on Tuesday at the usual time. It'll be out there for your convenience. But hey, till we hear from you guys next week, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy Hanukkah. And we will see you next time around. Meantime, y'all be safe and be kind to one another, folks. See you next time. Everybody take care.